Hey everyone, Kyle once again. Welcome back to the next movie review. And so now I'll be reviewing, seeing how much, despite the flaws though, I enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine, right? It's flawed, but I still enjoy it primarily because Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman work so well together. That's what made the film work. The chemistry between Deadpool and Wolverine. That was the glue that made the film work, that held it together. And despite some issues, I still enjoyed it though. To me, it's like, as I say, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Deadpool and Wolverine were the only two good MCU films that came out of recently. Before or after, had nothing but shit. And sadly, the shit still continues after Deadpool and Wolverine. Because the next entry in the MCU is this what I'm going to be talking about right now. Captain America, Brave New World. Came out February 2025. Valentine's Day, which is a weird release date for this film. Now, Captain America, Brave New World. Ever since I think as though I did not like the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show. Firstly, I'm not a fan of any of the recent MCU TV shows. I don't like. I hated WandaVision. I'm not really big on Loki. The first 2 episodes of Secret Invasion I did not like, and I absolutely hated the She-Hulk series. And I'm not even gonna bother with the Daredevil Reborn series, okay? Because I like the first 3 seasons of Daredevil that came out years back, but I'm not even gonna bother with the new Daredevil show, okay? I mean, all those TV shows I've seen have looked like crap, have been crap, okay? Or even the Hawkeye TV show, yeah, that show I forgot. That's how forgettable that show was. I didn't even mention that the first time. So yeah, I'm not even bothered with the Daredevil TV show. I mean, and the films, like I said before or after. This film, now, is it the worst of the MCU movies? No, it's not, okay? There's been worse. Is it going to be my worst film of the year? No, not by far. It's not of this year. No. But overall, the film still sucks. And I like the first 3 Captain America movies. First Avenger I like, grown more. My favorite of the... as of right now, I'm saying my favorite of the MCU franchise is the Winter Soldier. Which this kind of feels like it's a loose remake of the Winter Soldier. Because it's more of a... They try to do the whole political thriller sense like they did with that film. But there's just so much that they took about for this movie, But I enjoyed Civil War. Now, probably the reason why people thought this film sucked because it's not a Captain America film without Chris Evans. I know, but what they did with the Endgame, I know. Okay, and I like Anthony Mackie. He's a good actor. Yes, he said some stupid shit like. What other actor in Hollywood has not said stupid shit, okay? In a political sense, or what other dumb shit they've said, okay? Yes. I know he said some stupid shit, alright? But, regardless though, I think Anthony Mackie is still a good actor, though. I liked him back when he was, before the MCU started, with him and Jeremy Renner. I like this film called The Hurt Locker. I like that movie. He's a good actor, okay? And here, was he bad acting-wise? No, he wasn't. He was trying his best, okay? He was trying, but would give him with the shitty script that was written by 5 writers. Yeah, I'll repeat that. 5 writers wrote this movie, including one of them is the director. Julius Onah, I haven't heard... Before he was cast as a choice to direct this film, I hadn't heard of this guy. So, I can't judge one of the films or other stuff he's done. So, but this film sucked, okay? But he was one of the writers of the 5 that wrote this script, and that So they take blame for this. That's one thing. The shitty script that this was. And so in the film, it feels like it wants to be a sequel to The Incredible Hulk from 2008, which I liked. Although it's like it's supposed to be a sequel because he brought these characters back from that movie, right? The character Thunderbolt Ross, only this time it's played by Harrison Ford, because William Hurt a few years ago he passed away. You know, he played the character up until the last one we saw him in was in Black Widow. So, yeah, it's, you know, and it's unheard of about recasting, because you had Terrence Howard from the first Iron Man, and they recast him as Don Cheadle. So it's not like recasting the same characters in the MCU is not unheard of. So they got Harrison Ford, which, the thing is, I love Harrison Ford. He's one of my favorite actors. You know, outside his Indiana Jones and Han Solo roles, there's several films I enjoyed him in. Witness, that's a good film. I love The Fugitive. You know, among other films that I've, you know, the sequels to Hunt for Red October, when he played the character Jack Ryan that Alec Baldwin previously played, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger. Those are political thrillers I like. I love Harrison Ford. But sadly here, to me, I think this is one of his worst performances he's done. Because he looks bored. It doesn't look like he doesn't want to be there. And plus, what can he do? He's just the President of the United States. Oh, speaking of President of the United States, I love Air Force One. That's one of my all-time favorite action movies. That was a childhood action film that I grew up with, I loved. And that's also one of my favorite films from Harrison Ford, where he got to play the President. I love Air Force One. But it's like, but going back to this though, because it doesn't look, because I know the guy is 82 years old. Okay, what can he do? Okay, he's not in his prime anymore. He's past his prime, and the fifth Indiana Jones movie sucked. Okay. I think just like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, or these action stars who are in their 70s now. Harrison Ford, just retire, please. Please just retire. Enjoy the joy rest of your life we can, like with family and whatever, or go have fun, whatever. Just retire, please. I mean, you're not the same guy who you used to be back then, even the 90s. I mean just because I love Harrison Ford. Okay, he was an actor I grew up not because of Indiana Jones or Han Solo, but the other films I've enjoyed him from back then. Okay, just and plus you think you think this is the last time we're going to see him as President Ross? I mean, there is even conflicting reports that, you know, he may appear in the upcoming Thunderbolts. What's he gonna do? By the time of this film, he's in the raft, the prison, you know, that floating prison that's in the ocean that we saw in Civil War. That's where he's gonna be at. And what's he gonna do? So, as I said, he's 82 years old now. He's past his prime. What can he do? He can't do much of anything anymore. But here, his acting was so poor in this. You know, I know maybe because of his age, how he's talking, his voice is a little more razzy because of his age. You know, he's like, I talk, you know, like in the trailer. Watch yourself. You're not Steve Rogers. I want a variable that I can't control. Maybe because I know, probably because his age though. But just talking, overall, he sucked in this film, and that's sad. And I'm sorry to say that, because like I said, I love Harrison Ford. Same thing, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love Sylvester Stallone. These action stars I grew up with, right? But you know what? Their track records have not been that good at all recently either. The films they've done the past like 5 or so years have not been good at all either. So as I said, I'm saying the same thing. They should just retire too, you know. Not just Harrison Ford, but the other actors, like Liam Neeson. He's going to stop doing action movies. I think he's going to do another action film. See? You say one thing and you say another, and you end up doing another. Same thing with Liam Neeson. I think he should just retire too, you know? But regardless of that, okay, all that said and done, yes, Harrison Ford, it thinks me it's one of his worst performances he's done as in the longest time. Other cast members. Yeah, what's the guy who's supposed to be the new Falcon? Yeah, Danny Ramirez. I thought he was only decent because he was in the supporting cast. He was in Top Gun Maverick as one of the pilots that Tom Cruise was training. I think he was. We first saw him also in the TV show Falcon the Winter Soldier. I think he was talking with Anthony Mackie. But he's supposed to be the new Falcon. I couldn't care less about him in this movie either. I mean, Giancarlo Esposito is another good actor, but wasted in this. I mean, either had to been the reshoots because he appeared a lot. The appearance we saw in the trailer is pretty much you saw him in the movie. I mean, he's supposed to be this guy who works for the Serpent Society, and that's in the comics, in the Serpent Society. And he appears in like 3 things. Like, one of the big things you saw in the trailer where he's shooting at him, at Anthony Mackie, or at the beginning where he's taking these family hostages waiting to get paid and he escapes, and then the last thing where he's in custody, but to get Anthony Mackie to get info from. So Giancarlo Esposito, he's wasted in this. Maybe it was due to the reshoots. And this squeaky chair is annoying the hell out of me right now. Probably was due to the reshoots. Maybe his role was cut down. And what else? Liv Tyler, which, yeah, because they bring characters from the Incredible, as I mentioned before, like the Betty Ross, Tim Blake Nelson comes back as Samuel Stearns, aka the leader, and they mention all the stuff that these characters from, and they show footage from the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie. But it's just funny, all these characters from and the references from 2008's Incredible Hulk, but there's no Hulk in it. Yeah, I know. And there's another thing. Yes, I don't want to see any more of that. I know it's kind of like a double standard because, yeah, at the same time, I don't want to see that Hulk anymore either because they pussified the Hulk. They made him to a freaking joke. Okay, they can sell these and yeah, I know that's kind of like a double standard, right? Yeah, but they mention these things, these characters, and you see footage from the movie, and yet there's no Hulk in it. Even the Red Hulk as well, yes, but no Hulk in it. But at the same time, yeah, there's a double standard. But at the same time, I don't want to see that Hulk because he's been treated as a pussy. Okay, even in the She-Hulk TV series. God. So I know that's a double standard right there. I get it. But at the same time, I don't want to see that Hulk anymore. Okay. I mean, so all the TV shows I've mentioned, I ain't bothered with the Daredevil show because I don't care to see it. Even the Hawkeye, that's how forgettable that was. That's how forgettable it was. So all the TV shows I've seen have sucked. Okay. But getting back into this, I mean, there's like this whole, and plus this film did not do well box office wise, and this thing cost like $180 million, because including all the reshoots and the marketing, this didn't just cost $180 million. Domestically, right now, it made like about 190 some million in the United States. Worldwide, about 400 million. That's not good, okay? So it didn't break even at all. So this film it was basically a flop, basically. Granted, it wasn't as big as the shitty the Marvels was, but but all the money that's been spent on the marketing and reshoots, they didn't cost 180 million. It didn't break with the numbers. It didn't break even. So anyway, getting back to the hand here, the plot, okay. We see, it opens up with the footage of the Incredible Hulk from the 2008 movie, which is weird because, we see the different design look of that because that was Edward Norton compared to the Mark Ruffalo look, okay, that's weird looking. When it's funny to use footage from that. And then all of a sudden we see Ross, and then it comes to just 5 months later, where now he's present. Why couldn't Why jump to 5 months later? We just could have shown it already. So, and then we see here he's hearing like messages from his daughter Betty, which he says, "Oh, Betty, my daughter." We're as if we're too stupid to know that that's his daughter. Betty's the daughter of Ross. So he's president, and we see Sam as Captain America, and now he goes and fights with these people where these hostages are, and yes, there's this thing where he should. He says, I should have taken the serum. I'm like, yes, you should have. Okay, there's a scene where he says, I should have taken the serum. Yeah, you should have, because the scene doesn't like there isn't any after effects. I'm like, Bucky took the serum. He had the serum. No after effects of that. Or his buddy Isaiah, which we saw from the Falcon Winter Soldier. He comes back in this. Didn't see there are no after effects. So yeah, he should have taken the freaking serum, because he's having he's Captain America, and he's having this struggle to find these ordinary thugs. But he's there. Giancarlo Esposito. He's the buyer. He shoots. He gets away. And so, Danny Ramirez as the new Falcon. They got what they wanted. And so we talk with Isaiah. He's been invited to the White House. Wants him to go. So they go, and Harrison Ford is now as the president. They talk about Tiamat in the Indian Ocean from the Eternals, because he contains adamantium. Because now that Fox is owned by Disney, they can bring in the X-Men stuff that they wanted to do. You know, for a future X-Men movie in the MCU. That's why they can bring in the stuff in now. So that he contains adamantium, and apparently they're the only country that wants the adamantium is Japan. Which, why only Japan? Although obviously they can't say China or Russia because of what's happening in the real world right now. So I guess they can't say they're at throats with Russia or China. So they have to go with Japan. And then what they at least know that Isaiah, he gets hypnotized along with a few other guys. They get shot the president. He gets out, but he gets arrested. But he doesn't remember what happened. So Sam wants to help find out what happened to his friend. Ross says no, but he goes and does it anyway. Goes off on his own to investigate anyway. Before that, he gets shot at by Giancarlo Esposito again. We saw in the trailer. And this does a whole stupid shit where he gets stabbed here and like right here, right? Look like good stabs, but Sam walks off like it's nothing. And it just reminds me of the stupid shit where in Black Widow in her own movie, where she was fighting with Taskmaster, and she falls off a building and she just walks it off like it was like that, like it was nothing. Brushes it off. These people are ordinary humans, and they just walk. They fall from great heights or get stabbed. They just walk off like it's freaking nothing. I mean, even like I said, even John Wick at the end of the third movie. Yeah, it was ridiculous how he keeps on falling off the height of a building, but he didn't get up. He didn't get up like it was nothing. You know, he fell flat on his ass, and he had to be carted away to see Lawrence Fishburne. So he didn't get up on his own like it was nothing. But like Black Widow got up like it was nothing. But Sam Wilson, he gets stabbed, but he walks off like it's nothing because he does like a kick to Giancarlo Esposito, and that's it. And he gets caught, and he gets. And the next time we see Giancarlo Esposito is to get info from him. So, like I said, he had to do the reshoots, where his role was cut down much less, but he was wasted in this. And the whole thing, they want to bring in the whole Serpent Society, all that. So, but he takes Danny Ramirez. What was his name? The character. Joaquin Torres. Yeah. And the whole time we come with Harrison Ford talking with the Prime Minister of Japan, and Then he goes to this base. This is the secret this base where all these soldiers who are also hypnotized. They see that it's being done by Samuel Stearns, aka the leader, played by Tim Blake Nelson, also comes back from the Incredible Hulk movie. And Tim Blake Nelson, I like him as an actor. He's another good actor I like, you know? And okay, he comes back as the leader, which I think also had to do with the reshoots as well. Because they released a pop, right, where Tim Blake Nelson as the leader, he has the goatee and his head was a bit more larger. It had to do something also do with the reshoots as well, because we see Tim Blake Nelson comes in, his head, it's supposed to be like how it's supposed to be his brain improved because of his wound from the Incredible Hulk, right, when the blood got into his wound right here. But it just looks silly, It just come on, it looks like his head was turned into broccoli. Come on, you know how broccoli looks like? That's what it looked like. Like I said, it had to do with the reshoots or whatever, though, but and the art design of his beforehand, with a goatee and his head was more larger. However, let's say whatever happened to that design, but he just looked like. I know his brain is supposed to look like that in the comics. Well, his brain was a little more bigger, like we see here, though, but probably was too big to do it practically. But I think this was practical, but it just looks silly though. As first, and the leader was underused as well, and even for a smart person like the leader, now he could do all the stuff with the hypnotism, right? We did for Isaiah and some other people, right? Even when they're fighting on the Indian Ocean where Tiamat is, like he hypnotized these pilots. Question is, for a smart person like the leader, who's supposed to be more intellectual because of his cranial got bigger, why doesn't he hypnotize Sam Wilson? Or Joaquin Torres? Why doesn't he try to find a way to hypnotize them? Because they're ordinary people, just like, why couldn't he hypnotize them? But he was planning this whole revenge to get back at Ross, humiliate him. Even so, why didn't he? Also, that's another thing. Why couldn't he hypnotize him as well? But he wanted to humiliate him because he gave him these. Because we see the whole thing is because Ross had heart failure, and so he had Stearns make him these pills. But I guess unbeknownst to him, I guess they contain gamma radiation inside the pills. And so he put him away, and still, that's why he wants revenge on him. And so, which led to towards the end of the movie, which all the scenes we saw with the Red Hulk, pretty much saw in the trailer. That was towards the end of the movie, though. But all the stuff we saw with the Red Hulk was we saw in the trailer. But like I said, which led to later on, though, but. The whole story of him trusting Stearns didn't make any sense to me. I mean, if you had heart failure, can you find someone else any good high quality doctors to give him better pills and stuff like that? You had to go to Stearns though, and then there was a funny moment where they're on the ship, right? And he goes slams Harrison Ford's ah, and he cracks a table, and no one didn't think otherwise how he cracked the table. I just had to laugh because he's ah. I said Harrison Ford didn't look like he didn't want to be there in the first place. Would have been different if William Hurt was still alive. Probably would have been different though. Would it be save the movie? No, it wouldn't. But getting back to it, Stearns, aka the leader, tells about both Sam Wilson and Joaquin Torres. He gets out. They try to get trapped. They get attacked by soldiers, and then we have the girl who is supposed to be the president's security advisor, and she takes these guys out. She's a former Black Widow, but I'm supposed to buy her short little John Wick, supposed to take all of these guys. Like she's John Wick, all the the body throws and stuff like that, and also beforehand, I know there was controversy because when her name Shira Haas, when she was first cast, because this character is supposed to be, in the comics, she's an Israeli superhero from the country of Israel, right? In the comics. But that caused a whole outburst because of what's going on in Israel. That's why they decided to abandon her character as that superhero and put her as a former Black Widow. Yeah, because of no surprise, because of Disney's probably freaking anti-Israel. That's why. Stupid, you know. Like I said, the whole political bullshit. I'm just getting tired of Disney, whether it's in Marvel or other projects they're doing, like freaking the stupid Snow White biatch, you know. I'm getting sick of death of hearing all the stuff that I'm hearing, you know. But beside that, though, I'm not supposed to buy this girl be like, oh, her size is like doing all these big body throws and like take all these soldiers out, you know, but after that, because she kind of figured out that they were telling the truth about what's going on, so she helps them, and so they go to these soldiers they're working with Sam, and to get the information from Giancarlo Esposito, and that's that. And so now they go to the ship that's in the Indian Ocean where Tiamat is, and so that's when Harrison Ford tells Sam about the whole thing about his heart failure and Stearns and all that. And then these pilots, they're hypnotized, so Sam... And by the way, all the action in this film is nothing, just meh. It's just bland, generic-looking action like we've seen a lot of times. It's nothing unique or different. It's just nothing but blah, meh. It's meh action. I mean, he gets out, he used the shield to deflect some of the missiles, like in the trailer. And his wings, it can cut through stuff because his wings have been enhanced with some of the technology from the Wakandans. That's why it can cut through certain things, and and then we can stand with blasts as well. So, because it's from the technology from Wakanda. And so, but the action is so very meh, you know, and then the whole time Stearns is talking to Ross, you know, trying to get him to lose it. And then, by the end, the pilots are saved, but Joaquin gets badly injured. And to me, I didn't really care. I didn't give a rat's ass about Joaquin Torres either. So, and after all that's said and done, he's in the hospital, and Bucky, Sebastian Stan, he gets a cameo talking with Sam. And apparently, Bucky, he's running for Congress. So I'm like, a guy who was a mercenary, who worked for Hydra. Well, that wasn't his fault. He got brainwashed. He was brainwashed. So, but who killed a lot of people though, because even he says when he was talking to Tony in Civil War, he was like, "Do you remember them?" I remember all of them. So all the people he killed, but it's like, but now he's running for all that. He's running for Congress now. And I guess that's apparently because he is running for Congress. So that's in Thunderbolts though. So, but okay. He gets him talking. He gets a pep talk to Sam, and then he leaves. But Sam's like, oh, it's like I should have taken the serum, but Bucky tells him that you didn't have to because for what was the dialogue, but it's basically you don't have to be Steve Rogers to have to take the serum though. But to me, I'm like, yeah, you should have taken the serum though. Like I said, there were no after effects. There were no after effects what happened to Isaiah or even Bucky. You know, you should have just taken the serum. So after all that, then it comes the press conference. Because since his plan was foiled, Samuel Stearns, Tim Blake Nelson, he just gives himself up. He surrenders himself to Sam. But Nutley has one more trick up his sleeve though. So before the press conference, Ross calls his daughter. We hear Liv Tyler's voice on the other end, and then the whole thing where he gets the press conference, but then Stearns' voice, his conversation with Ross is being put on the speakers, And that's when he starts losing it, and that's when he transforms into the Red Hulk. And I gotta say, the whole... And yeah, as I said, everything we saw about the Red Hulk, we saw in the trailers, okay? From the White House getting hit, or when he throws a car at Sam and he cuts it in half with his wing, and throwing the shield down. That's all the stuff we saw in the trailers, pretty much. And to me, so do I say, does the effects look... You know, the thing is, most of the times the effects... Recently, with essentially the MCU with big budgets, why does the effects look downgraded? You know, with bigger budget, it's supposed to make the effects look good. Like, take for example, like the first Black Panther cost $200 million, and by the end fight with him and Killmonger and the Black Panther suits, that was just beyond horrendous CGI, extremely video game cut CGI. Like the whole fighting underground, some of the worst CGI you've seen in the MCU, right? Now, granted, the look of the Red Hulk is not up to that level. It's not. I'm probably sure people say about it. Yes, I know. A lot of people know about the comics about Ross turning to the Red Hulk. We know about that though. Now, like I say, is it silly looking? Although, guys, if I say there's a Red Hulk, but there's no regular Hulk, no Green Hulk in it, It's supposed to be a sequel to the Incredible Hulk, but there's no Hulk in it. And it looks silly. It looks silly. I mean, now effects-wise, does it look bad of Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk? For the most part, it doesn't. Okay. I mean, I think they did good. Imprinting Harrison Ford's face as the Red Hulk. But it just looks silly. I mean, you think it's him in the motion capture suit? Like I said, what can Harrison Ford do? He's 82 years old, okay? He can't do much of anything anymore. No, he's not that fully incapacitated, but he's 82. He's not the same who he was back from Indiana Jones or Han Solo or even the films from the 90s he did, okay? He's not as agile as he was from back then. But, I guess, like I said, since his wings were stuff from the technology of Wakanda, he's able to stab the Red Hulk, stab him a couple times, cut him, and then eventually he's able to calm him down. How... Because he mentions the cherry blossoms, because there is a part in Washington where there's the cherry blossoms. They mention that because of the whole thing with how Ross used to take Betty when she was little to see the cherry blossoms. So, but using that though, Sam is able to calm Ross down. Like how Black Widow used to calm the Bruce Banner down as the Hulk. I'm surprised that Sam didn't try to use the trick. Hey big fella, the sun's getting low. But he comes down, and so Harrison Ford, he returns back to normal. I just seeing how Harrison Ford looks. Listen, yeah, I know, he's 82 years old, I know. He's not in the best shape as he was once, okay, I get it. So, but he gets taken away. Eventually, he gets put into the raft. And that's where he gets visited by... Now, did they say he was impeached? Or he's still president even though he's in the raft? I don't know. Because I don't think they didn't say that the president has been impeached. Or, I don't know. So, they didn't say anything like that, though, but now he's been put in the raft, and then it's where he gets visited by Liv Tyler. So, and by the way, speaking of the raft, well, we know at the end credits where Tim Blake Nelson is, though, but where's Baron Zemo? Because we know in the Falcon Winter Soldier TV series, he gets arrested by the Wakandan, the guards from Wakanda, right? And he's in the raft as well. We saw him, right? So where's Zemo? Because we don't hear him, we don't see Daniel Brawl, so. But because the last time we saw him, he was in the raft as well. But we don't see him. Is it another room? Prison room? Whatever? But, I don't know, it's just okay. And then the end credits go, where Sam talks to Tim Blake Nelson, saying that, which mentioned about the whole multiverse, because he's sick, because he mentions the multiverse because Tim Blake Nelson is saying, "You think this is the only world you would die for this world? We share the same world. You would die for. They're coming. You know. I've seen the probabilities. I've seen it plain as day. This is not the only world. Let's see how you try to defend this world from the others. Henceforth, he means the other worlds from the multiverse. But like I said, he just gives himself up so easily. But wait, for a guy who's supposed to be for a character who's supposed to be that smart, why didn't he try hypnotizing Sam or Joaquin in the first place? Wouldn't that be better to cause more chaos since he has them hypnotized? But I guess he's not smart enough, though. So this film, Brave New World, because they mentioned the Brave New World, because originally the title was supposed to be New World Order, but they changed it. This film was just boring. It was. The action was boring. It was nothing. It was just like, meh. This film, like I said, the film was boring. It was boring as sin. Now, granted, it wasn't over 2 hours like all the recent movies have been. But still, it was such a boring movie. Like I said, the action was boring. Acting-wise, Anthony Mackie, he was trying his best, okay? He was trying his best. Harrison Ford gave one of his worst performances I've seen in a long time. I didn't give a shit about Danny Ramirez's new Falcon, or the Israeli Black Widow one. Okay, I didn't care about her either. Giancarlo Esposito wasted. Probably was due to the reshoots, maybe. Tim Blake Nelson, a good actor. Yeah, he came back, but he didn't do much of anything either. Well, he's the guy who works behind the scenes. That's what he does, right? The manipulation. That's what he did the whole thing, which ended up trying to start the war with Japan and all that. But, and the whole makeup effects, how he looks. I mean, it looks like it's practical, but the whole thing is how he looks like. His head is made of broccoli. Like I said, whether the previous design looked, probably due to the reshoots, maybe. I think that would have looked better, though. And like some of the CGI was not that good. I mean, the whole thing with the Red Hulk. I mean, yeah, good looking when they try to imprint Harrison Ford's face as the Red Hulk, but overall it just looks silly. And trying to be sequels to films that no one. I mean, it tries to be a sequel to the Incredible Hulk. You bring characters back from that movie, but there's no Hulk in it. It tries to be a sequel to Eternals. But do anyone give a shit about the Eternals? No. It tries to be a whole bunch of other things. It tries to be like a loose remake of Winter Soldier, trying to be like more of like a political thriller, like that one did. And or it tries to be the whole hypnotism thing act, right? It tries to be like the Manchurian Candidate with Denzel Washington. That's more I think about now. The Manchurian Candidate with Denzel Washington, the whole hypnotism thing and all that. I didn't give a shit about Isaiah. I did not care about that character either. So, but eventually, I've mentioned he gets free. He's set free. He's cleared of the charges, so he's set free. Rather than he's out of prison. But I didn't care about his character either. I didn't care about him when I saw him in the Falcon Winter Soldier TV show. I didn't care about Joaquin Torres either. So, I didn't feel sad. The more I didn't care about that show either. But the film was so boring. The acting was not up to the acting was not up to snuff. Like I said, even though Anthony Mackie was trying, action was pretty much boring and nothing. And especially, do you think that this now logically, do you think after seeing this film? Do you think that Anthony Mackie's Captain America, Sam Wilson, do you think this Sam Wilson is capable of leading the Avengers in the upcoming one in Doomsday? Do you think he's capable of leading the Avengers? Like, like, yeah, I know he's not Chris. He's not like Ross says. You're not Steve Rogers. But do you think he's capable of leading the Avengers? I asked my brother this. He said no. Because he saw the film too. He said, "Do you think he's capable of leading the Avengers?" And he said no. And you know what? I agree. So, I mean, this film just sucked. You know, like I said, it's another shitty MCU movie. This is why I'm getting tired. As I mentioned, I like Deadpool and Wolverine. I like Guardians Volume 3. But I'm just so tired of superhero movies. You know, I am so burnt out of them. Whether it's DC or Marvel or any other type of superhero movies, I'm just so tired of them. I'm so burned out right now. I'm so burned out on them. And why do you think some of these films are not doing that well? Because I think people are getting burned out as well. Why a lot of these Marvel films or DC? Why you think that, you know, why they've been bombing or not doing that well? The only reason why, I think I still have it. Yeah. The reason why this film worked, why this film was so successful, because people would have longed to see a proper Deadpool movie with Wolverine in it. And why the film worked, because of the chemistry between the two characters. That's why the film worked, and that's why the film was so successful. Why the film made over $1 billion worldwide, because people wanted to see the fun between these two. And guess what? I agree. These two together made the film work. I love the chemistry, the banter between they have with each other, the fighting they have with each other, ripping into each other. It was fun, and that's what made the film work. Not because of director Sean Levy. I said it before. Because people wanted to see these two work together, and they did. That's why the film was so successful. Because fans wanted to see that since X-Men Origins Wolverine. A proper send-off, and it worked. And even Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was successful, but it didn't make $1 billion. But that film was successful because people enjoy the characters, the Guardians. People enjoy Star-Lord, Rocket, Drax, right? People like those characters. That's another reason why Guardians Volume 3 was also a success. But the other films before or after have not done that well. Because people are getting burned out on superhero movies, like I am. They just need, like I said, I'm sure people say this, but just superhero films, the whole genre of superhero movies, they need to take a break. 10 years. Don't come back from 10. Don't make any superhero movies of any kind whatsoever for 10 years. Because, it's like this trend, where things are, it's like with these slasher films, right? With the whole thing with Scream and Halloween, right? And they're trying to do with the new Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, whatever. It's like a trend, a fad, right? But people are getting tired of it. No one doesn't want to see them anymore. Well, I don't like those movies anyway, but it's a trend, It's just, if something is good when it started, back in 2008, it was good, and now people are just getting tired of more nowadays because the box office have not been dwindling so much. Like except for this film or Guardians 3. But I'm just so burned out on superhero movies. I'm getting tired of it. But this film did not do that well. It didn't break even. It didn't cost $180 million, including marketing and reshoots. It cost more than that, and it didn't break even. It didn't do that well. So, Captain America: Brave New World, it sucked. Okay, like a lot of people were hating on this movie before it came out. I don't listen to the haters until I see the movie for myself, and then I give my thoughts. And guess what? It sucked. So you gotta say, yeah, the people were right beforehand. But to me, I didn't listen to those beforehand though. I judge it on my own terms. I don't lie about it. I'm always being honest. So, this film did suck. It does suck. I like the first 3 Captain America movies, but without Chris Evans, yeah, that's another reason. Or, trying to be a sequel to other things and didn't work either. Especially a sequel to The Incredible Hulk, but there's no Hulk in it. But like I said, that's a double standard because I'm tired of seeing that Hulk anyway. Because he's a joke now. So that's my thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World. Another shitty MCU movie. And do you think I give a shit about Thunderbolts? No, I don't. Do I give a shit about Fantastic Four? No. I guarantee you that the 2005 Fantastic Four movie is still be better than this MCU version of the Fantastic Four with Pedro Pascal. I guarantee that's gonna be the 2005 movie is still gonna be better than the one that we're gonna get. But I don't give a shit about Thunderbolts. I don't give a shit about the upcoming Fantastic Four. I don't. But it doesn't matter anyway, because all those characters, they're gonna come back all in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday. So obviously none of them are gonna die, of course. Well, I'm off topic. I'm calling this out right now. Maybe spoilers though, but you know what? In the upcoming Thunderbolts, I think Taskmaster's gonna die anyway, because judging from what I saw, the lack of her in the trailer, I think the Taskmaster's gonna die in that. Which, by the way, I don't care anyway, because I didn't care for her in the Black Widow movie anyway. So I don't give a shit if she dies. But I'm just saying, due to her lack of appearance in the trailer, it looks like the Taskmaster will die in Thunderbolts. But I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about the whole team anyway. I don't. So yeah, I'm so burned out on superhero movies now. But getting back with Captain America, the film sucked. Okay, I mean, Anthony Mackie, he tried his best. He tried. Harrison Ford, I love Harrison Ford, but it's one of his worst performances I've seen from him. He doesn't look even want to be there. He looked bored. Just retire, Harrison Ford. Just enjoy and go out and have fun in your retirement. Play golf or do other stuff. Just retire, please. Because he's whatever. I already said before. So those are my thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next movie review and so forth. And we'll see you next time. Later.